In this video, we're going to do a quick review of absolute values. Now, in our first example, we have the absolute value of -5. And if you remember from class, we know that the absolute value is just the number's distance from 0. So for -5, I see -5 is here on the number line. Its distance from 0 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, positive 5 units. Now, in our next example, we have the absolute value of +9. Now if I find 9 on the number line right over here, I trace its distance to 0, I'm going to see that I'm still only 9 units away, so this is going to be +9. Over here we also have the absolute value of 4. So again, if I find 4 on my number line, I'm going to see it's right here. I'll go from 4 to 0, and I can count. I really don't have to, though, because I know that the absolute value is just 4. However, when we have an example where it says the negative absolute value of 6, again, I know 6 is here on my number line. I'm just going to draw it over here so I don't get in the way. I have 6 units between 0 and +6. However, because it's looking for the negative absolute value, sometimes it might also say opposite. Originally, the absolute value would be 6, but because it's saying the negative 6, or the negative absolute value, this is going to be -6. Now that we've gone over the basics, let's talk about solving absolute value problems. Now, there's a couple things that you want to remember when solving them. First of which is the order of operations, or GEMDAS, groups, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. Next, you also want to remember to solve what's on the inside of the brackets before taking the absolute values. And last, you don't want to forget to bring down your absolute values when solving these problems. So for these following problems, what I want you to do is to pause the video whenever you start a new problem, and we'll go through it together. So in the first problem, we have the absolute value of -12 plus -4. So what we're going to do is first we're going to solve on the inside. -12 plus -4 is going to give us a value of absolute value of -16. And then from here, this is just a simple absolute value. -16 is +16. In our next example, it's a little bit longer. We have the absolute value of 3 times 2 plus the absolute value of -13 plus 5. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and try this on your own. Now that you've done this on your own, we're going to do it together. So first thing we're going to want to do is solve what's inside the brackets for the absolute value. So 3 times 2 is going to give me the absolute value of 6 plus -13 plus +5, that's going to give me an absolute value of -8. Now from here, now that I only have one number inside of my absolute value, I'm just going to find the absolute value. In this case, it'll be 6. In this case, it'll be 8. So 6 plus 8 will just give me a sum of 14. In my next example, we're comparing the absolute value of 23 plus -14, and we also have that plus the absolute value of 16. So first thing we're going to do is combine these two values, and pause the video if you already haven't, and we'll go through it together in just a moment. So +23 plus -14 is going to give us an absolute value of +9 plus the absolute value of 16. I have my two absolute values, so this is just 9 plus 16 equals 25. In our final example, we have the absolute value of +5 plus -4 plus the absolute value of -2 plus +13 minus 16. So the first thing we're going to want to do is combine our like values within here. So we're going to have 5 plus -4 will just give us -1's absolute value. Plus, if we combine these two, -2 plus +13 will give us an absolute value of +11. And then we're going to subtract that by 16. So from here, we'll just take those absolute values. This will just leave us with 1 plus 11 minus 16. And then now that because I have addition and subtraction in my same line, I'm just going to add from left to right and subtract from left to right. 1 plus 11 will give me 12. I drop down the 16. 12 minus 16 is going to give me a total sum of negative 14. If you have any questions about the test tomorrow, always feel free to email me.